Today, we're starting into the houses, and really, on each of these levels, we're really trying to understand how the planets work. And each of the planets is affected by the sign it's in and colored its attitude it picks up, and then it throws its energy into the house it's in. So the planetary energy works, it's a very different focus when we're looking in the houses than in the signs. And in one way, there's a very spiritual side to it. Another way, it's a very mundane side. So traditionally in astrology, you memorize the 12 meanings of the houses, and anything that's happening in those houses, it's going to affect those affairs, those specific affairs. That's the general popular astrology. However, it really is talking about how the soul comes in and takes on the 10 levels of consciousness and the attitudes to them, and then how that energy manifests into life. It's not just about getting money or communications. There's a whole process of how our soul is anchored into the world, how we live our day-to-day experiences. And it's really I don't like to use the word psychology because it's a narrow word. It really is this anchoring of the soul into life and how it processes and the means in which it puts out energy and takes in energy, how we gain experience, how we grow from it, how we learn from it. And the planets, when you're born, that's your predisposition, that's your DNA, that's where they are and what signs they're in, what houses they're in, the aspects to them. These are our parts of the unique fabric of your genetic code or DNA. When I use DNA, I include subjective and inner influences, not just physical traits. Now, when we went through okay, we're going to do a little review of the houses. So when we went through the signs, we're looking at the attitudes and how they affected each of the planets and the sun and the moon. And then at the end, we did the angles. Well, the signs to the angles are a very mystical, spiritual side. It really is talking about the 4 directions and the 4 main focus points of your life. And all your relationships to each of the houses is anchored in this cross of the signs to the angles. So it's important, if you haven't listened to that class, you do. So that's different than the houses. That's the planets to the angles, to the IC, to the ascendant, to the MC, to the descendant. So that's there's a few different misconceptions when we look at a chart. We just have a chart here in front of us, but you see where the blue line shows from the ascendant, the blue line is turning counterclockwise. That's the way the Earth is turning, northern hemisphere. You turn counterclockwise, but as the Earth is turning counterclockwise, okay, so we got, I think, okay, so good. So this process of the Earth is turning one way, but the sun and the signs of the zodiac and the planets are moving up the other way. They're moving clockwise around the wheel. So there's 2 movements here. As the planets, as the sun and the planets move through the zodiac, they're actually moving counterclockwise. But as they move across the day up to the highest point in the sky and down, they're moving clockwise. Or they appear to be moving clockwise because the Earth is turning, we're on the Earth, and we're seeing it come up clockwise. Okay, now, something just came up saying I left. I'm on, okay. There we go. Now we're in, good, okay. Welcome, Sandra. Just, I don't know why the mechanics at the beginning are a little strange. Anyways, I think we're good to go now. So this process of, as the ascendant moves through as the Earth turns, the ascendant will move from Aries to Taurus to Gemini, Cancer around in the zodiac. And the numbers of the houses are going 1, 2, 3, 4 the same way, counterclockwise. However, when you're looking at the houses to understand, and the planets are moving, the Earth is moving one way, but the planets and the signs of the zodiac are moving clockwise. They're moving up clockwise. They move around the chart clockwise. And so there's a whole, it's called diurnal houses, but people, it hasn't been traditionally accepted, but it's the main way it works. The planet, the sun goes into the third house, then into the second, then into the first. It goes through the houses in the opposite way. We're just want to see how the energies are going in. When you're working with your chart, you'll see your personal motivation, the attitudes to it, and you're going to project that. It's going to come up to the ascendant, to the identity, and you're going to push it up as far as you can till it gets up to the midheaven. And then you're going to start responding and reacting as it sets. And then it goes below the horizon of the descendants is going to be, there is a personal receiving energy, taking things personally, taking them in. Intuition, feeling, sensation, thinking. Okay, so in sensation and thinking. So we're going to be working with these basic categories, and they're not the ones most of those houses just memorize the meaning in the houses and read into it. I want to specifically see these phases as it's moving around across the day and see those energies. So here you'll see it again with using the sun. The sun is on the IC at midnight, true midnight, sundial midnight, because we use daylight saving time and other things. It can be off. It's not 12 o'clock on our clocks. It's true midnight. And then it hits the eastern horizon at sunrise. In that first, it's rising, hits sunrise, then it gets above the horizon, keeps rising till it gets up to the highest point in the sky. That's sundial noon, when the sun is at the highest point facing south in the northern hemisphere. You see when the sun's at the highest, then it begins to set. And the setting half begins until it gets to sunset. The sun goes below the horizon till it gets down to the midnight point again. So this is our basic cycle. So the categories we're going to be using is this. Is this the right one? One second. Let's just go ahead a little bit here. We had the rising and the setting halves of the chart. From the IC, from the lowest point, it rises to the third, second, first, 12th, 11th, 10th house, up to the midheaven. So half of your chart is rising, half of the chart is setting. And the point between the IC and the midheaven, that's called the line of power. It's the power out in the world and the power within you, the two types of power, objective and subjective power. So anything rising would be considered to be instigative or projective. We tend to instigate or project those energies. And we project them from our inner depth to see how far out in the world, to see what kind of influence we'll have. And how we project comes out to what we accomplish or our status. And then once we have projected out as much as we can, we start responding or reacting to how other people are responding to us. We start reacting to what's happened and what else are we picking. We start taking things in. We start responding or reacting to other people, to what our effect on others have been. We push the energy out, and then we take in. We put out, we take in. You put out happiness, you might get happiness out. You put out depression, you put out worry. It's not like you're necessarily going to get happiness coming back in. So again, you'll have these in your notes. You should download the handouts. Under the handout section, there's a handout there, which is this this presentation, which we'll be using every day going as we go through. Here, the highest point of the zodiac. Any planet, if you look south, the highest point of the zodiac, that's the midheaven. The point overhead is the zenith. The highest point of the zodiac is the midheaven. In the southern hemisphere, you have to be looking north, and you'll see the highest point of the zodiac is the midheaven there. The IC is the lowest point, the deepest. So one is the highest point above us, one is the lowest point, or the deepest point beneath us. Translated in our charts, this comes to the most objective peak of power and the most inner point of depth, inner depth, your motivation. So we have two types of motivation. This is just a review. I'm just going over it quickly. The midheaven is our peak of objective functional power, our status, our social motivation, and how we integrate ourselves in the community. It's how we affect other people and are affected by what we can do, what we're good for, what we can accomplish or what negatively, what we can't accomplish, what we never do, what we don't finish, the lack of reputation could be a negative MC. The IC is your depth of subjective power, the power of your own personal being. You don't have to do anything to just be yourself, but there is a depth to that, and we can be personally motivated. And personal integrity is how we take impressions in and deal with it, go to sleep, have a good night's sleep, and come out into the world, and we've integrated our subjective worlds so we feel okay within ourselves. So the degree to which we do this, we're either motivated to make ourselves more secure or to motivate our integrity will cause us to project it outwardly. Our inner integrity, we have to put it to the test out in life. And as we put it to the test in life, we get the response to it setting, and it comes back and either validates or challenges our integrity. So this is the kind of spiritual pulse across the day, across the houses.